I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah is off today. We start this morning with the historic launch of Artemis 2, a mission that is capturing the imagination of the entire country. We saw liftoff yesterday at 6:35 p.m. Eastern. That's when the most powerful rocket NASA has ever built blasted off from the Kennedy Space Center. It is now on a journey that will take it around the moon, then back to Earth. It's the first time in more than 50 years humans have left our planet, and the moon has been on the itinerary. The Orion spacecraft, nicknamed Integrity, will be the home of these 4 astronauts over the next 10 days. While the crew won't be landing on the moon itself, this lunar flyby will be a monumental step in NASA's attempt to extend humanity's reach into the final frontier farther than ever before. We have our team of space experts standing by for more on this historic launch. First, let's check in with our senior correspondent, Tom Costello, who watched the liftoff up close in Florida. Tom, good morning.
Yeah, Joe, boy, they are celebrating here at NASA and also in Houston. What a tremendous launch. Everything went exactly as planned. Liftoff, as you know, was about 6:35 or so p.m. Eastern time last night. And then very quickly, we saw the Artemis crew heading straight towards a very high apogee, which means a very high orbit over the Earth. And that's where they are right now. And they will be until this evening when they go into what's called the translunar injection. That sounds like a really fancy word. You probably heard it dating all the way back to Apollo. That essentially means they light the fire to head to the moon, right? And that will be at Mach 33. More than 24,000 miles headed to the moon. That will take about 4 days. And then while they're at the moon, they will do this very big loop around the moon, including looping around the far side of the moon and putting human eyes on a part of the far side of the moon that humans have never seen before. So that will be the priority. The other thing that they did overnight that went very well, apparently, is Victor Glover, who was the pilot, actually manually flew the spaceship for a time. They wanted to test out all of the systems, including the ability to manually fly Orion. That went well. But for the most part, Orion is in an automatic mode controlled by computers and, of course, controlled by Houston. Again, so far, so good. 4 astronauts right now safe and sound in Earth orbit. They continue to test out their systems before they go into that TLI burn to the moon this evening. Joe?
All right, Tom, thank you so much. Let's continue this conversation now with our team of experts. We want to talk about what they saw yesterday and have them walk us through what we can expect from the rest of this journey. Joined by astronomer and astrophysicist Dr. Emily Rice here on set, and Jose Hernandez, a former NASA astronaut. Good to have both of you with us. I'm going to ask both of you, and we'll start with you, Dr. Rice, just what it was like watching this launch last night. You have been giving us space fashion all week long here. We've got the sequin spaceship on your shirt now. Clearly you're excited. What was going through your mind as you were watching the launch?
I am in celebration mode today. It was really, really fun to watch. So I was watching here in the green room.
Yeah. We have nice TVs here.
But it was very, very fun because I was also watching with like a space community online. And so I know a lot of space enthusiasts, space experts, space commentators. And so seeing where they all were and what they were wearing and what they were doing, who they were watching with was really, really fun. I will also shout out to my cousin who was watching at the beach in Florida with her 4-year-old.
Wow.
And so they got to see their first launch from very close by, which sounded very, very fun. And I made sure that my husband had my kids watch too.
That is amazing. That's something, by the way, that 4-year-old will never forget. Jose, what was it like for you?
It was great. Even though it's a brand new vehicle, it brought, I got very nostalgic because I'm saying, man, I wish I was on that ship and heading to the moon. It's a new era of space exploration. Very excited because we're going to be doing some great things on the surface of the moon once we start going to the moon on a regular basis. But this is a test flight. You got to remember it's a test flight. So the astronauts are going to be testing out radiation protection systems, their medical kits to make sure they have everything. And on day 3 to 6, they're going to be heading towards the moon and then do that flyby and come back on days 6 through 9. And then finally on day 10, They're going to splash down off the coast of San Diego, and they're going to be able to tell us how it was. And looking on the dark side of the moon, man, isn't that exciting? Never been there before, and we're going to be the first ones there.
Dr. Rice, let's talk about what we'll see today. We know we're kind of in the testing phase right now. NASA says the astronauts scheduled to be awakened just minutes from their first sleep for an orbital burn. What's that? What is it? What's on the schedule, I guess, for them today?
Yeah, so it sounds like what they're doing is they're just adjusting their course around the Earth. And so they started out like relatively close by. They're getting further and further at certain points along the orbit. So they get further away, they get the spacecraft going faster. And then they're going to get ready for that big translunar injection burn that's going to take them out of orbit from the Earth and towards the moon. And that'll be later today.
And if you keep hearing TLI, that's what that's talking about, when they just sort of blast them out there. Jose, many of us mere mortal non-astronauts here on Earth have to rely on TV or movies to get a taste of what a journey into space might be like. Is there any amount of training that can really, truly prepare you for the moment when you leave our atmosphere and you see our planet from way up there? What are they experiencing right now?
Well, you can't train for the view you're going to see, and that's the most exciting part. But I'll tell you, NASA does a great job at training you for different contingencies, for different types of failures, that you feel very, very prepared for anything that comes at you. So these astronauts have been preparing for about 3 years for this mission. So there's no doubt that they've thought of any failure that could happen along the way. But I'll tell you what they're not prepared for is when they see the surface of the moon with the Earth in the background. That's going to be a spectacular view for them and something they're never going to forget.
What was that moment like for you?
It was amazing. It was amazing. I looked at the Earth and I became an instant environmentalist. I saw how thin our atmosphere is, how delicately balanced it is. And I said, you know, we need to take care of our planet. And this is why the past 50 years, our focus has been studying our Earth, understanding it. And now it's time to go to the moon, establish a long duration lunar base as a test bed to test and develop technologies that's going to take us to Mars and beyond. And man, this is very exciting.
No kidding. And Dr. Rice, echoing what he just said there, this is about getting us to the moon and then back. So when that part of the journey starts and the crew actually starts accelerating toward the moon for that 3-4 day journey, how fast are they going to be going? What is that process going to be like?
That's going to be a big one. So this is the big burn to get out of Earth's orbit towards the moon. I think it's going to be something upwards of 20,000 miles per hour. I don't think they're going to feel as much G-force as when they left the Earth, because the strongest gravity that you have to get out of is right at the surface of the Earth. And so from there on out, like they probably will feel a little bit during these burns, but not too much, which is a surprising thing. Like when you're in motion and you don't have an acceleration, you don't feel it.
As we keep reiterating to people, they won't actually be visiting the man on the moon. They won't be touching the moon, but they will be going around it. Why is that so important? What do we gather from this mission that helps prepare them for the next mission?
This is going to be very, very huge. For them to go around the moon, see that far side for the first time with human eyes in a long, long time is very, very exciting. And so they're going to be taking pictures. They've already studied the lunar geography. They studied with geologists in order to know what to look for. And then there are going to be geologists on the ground at Mission Control at NASA Johnson to kind of guide them to take more pictures and look at certain places, look at other things in more detail as they fly around the moon. They will be still pretty far away, like 4,000 miles from the moon's surface, but still having humans be able to take pictures of the far side of the moon is enormous.
It's still pretty darn close there. Jose, I know it was only, 17 years ago you ventured into space. You conducted 3 spacewalks during your time on the International Space Station. Did you think at that time a mission like this would come this soon?
Yes, I did. I thought that it actually was going to come even sooner. There's been some delays, but it had always been in the books that, you know, after the space shuttle, International Space Station, moon was the next objective, and it's coming to fruition. And I think in a timely fashion, because things are going to be moving very quickly after this. You know, this is a test flight. I want to emphasize that. Once all these tests are done and it's certified for human space flight, we're going to be going very frequent to the moon, and it's going to become almost a normal thing when we say, oh, there's another mission, astronauts going to the surface of the moon. And that is very exciting.
Jose, real quick, how do we compare this to Apollo more than 50 years ago?
We have a lot of more technology developed. I mean, 50 years ago, we were using vacuum tube technology. There's more computation power in your cell phone than there was on the whole Apollo system. And now we've caught up, and we've got this great technology that's going to allow us to stay for long periods of time on the surface of the moon.
Dr. Emily Rice, Jose Hernandez, thank you both for your incredible experience and your perspective as we celebrate this milestone this morning. In an address to the nation last night, President Trump made his case for the war in Iran, which is now in its second month. The speech was short on specifics. The president did not give a definite timeline when the conflict would come to an end, but he said it will end shortly. Polls show most Americans are against the war, but as NBC's Chris Pallone reports, more strikes are expected over the coming weeks.
My fellow Americans, good evening.
In his first primetime address to the nation since the war in Iran started a month ago, President Trump repeated yet again his reasons for launching the attack.
These actions will cripple Iran military, crush their ability to support terrorist proxies, and deny them the ability to build a nuclear bomb.
While asserting the nation's goals are nearing completion in Iran, the president stopped short of declaring victory, offering few specifics of what exactly will bring the war to an end, warning U.S. attacks will continue for now.
We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks.
The president saying he's open to negotiating with the Iranian regime while making this threat.
If there is no deal, we are going to hit each and every one of their electric generating plants very hard and probably simultaneously.
A recent Reuters Ipsos poll shows the vast majority of Americans oppose the war, with just 35% saying they approve and 60% saying they disapprove. Since the war began, gas prices in the U.S. are up 65%, now averaging $4.06 a gallon. President Trump says the pain will be worth it in the end.
Gas prices will rapidly come back down. Stock prices will rapidly go back up.
And regarding the Strait of Hormuz, a key trade route now closed by the Iranians, President Trump says countries that get oil through the strait should take the lead in opening it back up.
Build up some delayed courage, go to the strait and just take it, protect it, use it for yourselves.
To this point, many U.S. allies have refused to get involved. Chris Pallone, NBC News.
For more on the president's speech, let's bring in Jeff Mason, White House and Washington correspondent for Bloomberg News. Jeff, good to have you with us this morning. So, this speech was the president's chance to try and make his clearest public case yet for this ongoing conflict. Mr. Trump argued the war is necessary for the security of the free world. He called it a, quote, true investment in your children and your grandchildren's future. What are the key takeaways from what you heard? Did we learn anything new here?
There wasn't a lot new. He did absolutely make his case, as you said, and I think some of the elements of that case included listing the length of previous wars within the last century. He talked about how long World War II was, how long World War I was, how long the Vietnam War was, how long the conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq were. And I think that was part of his sales pitch to say, look, I may have started this war in Iran, which I said as a presidential candidate in 2024 I wouldn't do, but it's not going to last that long. That said, he stuck to his roughly 2 to 3 week timeline while also describing the fact that the United States planned to do multiple more harsh strikes against Iran. And that's rattling markets again today because of the ambiguity sort of reflected in those mixed messages.
Jeff, once upon a time when a president demanded a primetime slot from the TV networks, it was because there was like an urgent message for the American people. And a lot of what the president said last night echoed remarks about the war in recent weeks during daily events, his, to be fair, frequent interactions with the media over the last few weeks. So was this a recognition on the part of the White House that, as we just saw those polling numbers there, the war is becoming a political problem for him?
I think it was a recognition that they wanted to reset their messaging in some way, and I'm not sure that they accomplished that. given, as you just said, the fact that he mostly went over talking points and objectives that he has already done. I was in the Oval Office just a couple days ago when he first floated the 2 to 3 week time frame and asked him about that. And as I said, he stuck with that again in his remarks last night. This was the first time that he's made a primetime address about the war since launching it more than a month ago. He launched it essentially with a post on social media and a video that he had pre-taped and put out on that. And I think there were some people who were expecting that he would do an address like this earlier in the process. But then this is an untraditional president. This is an untraditional war. He did not go to Congress and seek permission. He did not address the American public at the beginning, as I said, of the process to say this is what's coming. So the fact that it's coming now is sort of in line with the untraditional presidency and the way that this war has been conducted of Donald J. Trump.
And there always is just the risk of interrupting the TV shows people like to watch at night. Sometimes that can just be unpopular on the surface right there unless you come across with a really compelling message. We know President Trump expressed confidence that the war is going to be a success. We just heard there in Chris's piece, Iran is going to be hit hard over the next few weeks. We don't know much about the details about what happens after that. So at this point, based on your reporting, what's the White House going to consider a victory for the U.S. in this war?
Well, I think they've started to lay that out. I mean, the president has begun to say that there has been regime change, even though the new Ayatollah or the new supreme leader in Iran is the son of the previous one. That suggests that the same hardline leadership is still in charge, even if it's a different person at the very top. Otherwise, he talked about some of the military victories. He talked about having decimated Iran, talked about getting rid of their ballistic missile program, but it still leaves a lot of questions about what will be left in terms of Iran's nuclear capabilities and whether or not you can really obtain all of those military objectives in the now 2 to 3 week timeline that he has laid out. I know that there's some concern within conservative circles that who wanted this war, that he is now actually leaving too early when he's already gotten in there and has the chance to do more.
Jeff Mason, good to have you with us. Thanks for joining us this morning. Appreciate it. Overseas, the strikes do continue across the Middle East. They continued last night as President Trump delivered that primetime address. While the president's audience was the American people, his speech certainly carried global implications. Oil prices are spiking and stocks tumbling after he threatened to keep striking Iran over the next 2 or 3 weeks. Hours before his speech, Mr. Trump told the British newspaper The Telegraph that he was strongly considering pulling the U.S. out of NATO. And on Truth Social Wednesday morning, Mr. Trump said Iran had asked the U.S. for a ceasefire. A spokesperson for Iran's president denied Mr. Trump's claim, both topics noticeably missing from the president's remarks last night. So let's bring in NBC News international correspondent Raf Sanchez, who's in Doha, Qatar, for us again with the latest from the region. Raf, good morning. One of the points the president made last night was that the threat from Iran was nearly eliminated. Is that what observers think? I mean, what is the latest across the region?
Well, Joe, the reality here is that Iran retains the ability to threaten its neighbors. We saw the Iranians firing ballistic missiles at Israel late Wednesday night while people in that country were celebrating Passover, one of the holiest days in the Jewish calendar. Overnight also, authorities in Saudi Arabia say 1 ballistic missile, 5 drones fired there. And in the days leading up to the president's speech, Iran hitting several oil tankers, one here in Qatar, one in Dubai. And it just shows that while there is no doubt that Iran's military capabilities have been degraded, they are still able to strike. They are still able to threaten the Strait of Hormuz. The president threatened more intense attacks in the coming weeks. One data point, there are now very large American B-52 bombers that are flying slow loops over Iran. That is something they were not able to do in the early days of the war because of Iran's air defenses. Those air defenses, now largely destroyed, the United States and Israel have basically free movement in the skies over Iran. But, Joe, it's also worth saying that the president continues to talk up the prospect of negotiations with the Iranians. The Iranian Foreign Ministry denying that there are any substantial talks going on. And I can tell you here in the region, there is certainly not much optimism that the United States and Iran are going to reach some kind of ceasefire agreement anytime soon.
So, Raf, I mean, President Trump claimed the Strait of Hormuz will open, in his words, naturally once the war with Iran ends. From what you've seen near the Strait, from what you've heard from experts, is that likely?
lot of skepticism here in the region about that, Joe. It's worth just walking our viewers through what the situation was before the war, what it is now. Before the war, you had about 110 ships every day passing through the Strait of Hormuz, and they were going through the middle of the strait in what was recognized as a kind of international transit point. Today, you have 10 ships, often fewer, going through the strait, and rather than going through the middle, they are being forced to pass through Iran's territorial waters, passing through a narrow series of islands controlled by the Revolutionary Guard, and some of them are being charged $2 million for that transit in what's being called the Tehran toll booth. Jeff.
Raf, as I mentioned, ahead of President Trump's primetime address, Iran's president released his own message to the American people. What did he say?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting document. It's about 1,000 words long. It's in English. The Iranian president said Iran does not bear any enmity towards the American people, and that the world is at something of a crossroads between conflict and engagement. So it had a sort of conciliatory tone to it. But, Joe, it's really important to remember the president in Iran is not somebody who held a lot of power before the war. He holds even less power now. This is a regime where the decision-making, as far as we can tell, seems to be concentrated around the Revolutionary Guard, around the Speaker of the Iranian parliament, who is a hardliner, one of the few surviving senior officials in the regime, and to some extent, the circle around the new Ayatollah, who appears to have been wounded in the opening hours of the war in the strike that killed his father. He hasn't been seen or heard in public for several weeks now. But the fact that the president is making conciliatory noises does not mean that the rest of the Iranian regime is ready to talk. Jeff.
Right. Raf, good to have you with us. Thank you. Other political news now. Republican leaders in Congress say they are moving forward with a new plan to end the Department of Homeland Security shutdown. That closure has caused major disruption at airports nationwide. House Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune say Republicans will work to fully fund DHS. They're going to use a two-track approach that does appear to mirror a Senate proposal that was introduced last week. NBC News senior national politics reporter Jonathan Allen joins us now. John, good morning. So what more are we learning about this plan and how it would work?
Hey, good morning, Joe. Those two tracks that they're talking about, one is through the appropriations process that would fund the Department of Homeland Security, except for ICE and Customs and Border Protection. Those two agencies would be left for the reconciliation process. These are sort of insider terms, but basically the importance here is in the appropriations process, where you do everything but ICE and CBP. That's a measure that only needs 60 votes in the Senate to pass. The later reconciliation process is one that Republicans could do by themselves if they can get the votes that they need, 50 or more, 50 plus one in the House, 50% plus one in the House, and 50 plus one in the Senate.
This is some advanced schoolhouse rock, John, is what you're telling us right here. So after, initially...
I'm not a bill, but I am sitting on Capitol Hill, Joe.
See, I love that. All right, thank you, John. So after initially rejecting the Senate plan, we should know quite dramatically when House Speaker Mike Johnson came out late last week. Now it looks like House Republicans are just reversing course. They are going to take up the measure. What changed?
Yeah, the technical term for that, Joe, is folding.
Yeah.
I think what happened more than anything else is the TMZ-ification of the congressional departure. There were pictures of members of Congress all over the place doing things that felt leisurely while there were members of the government, members of the administration, for instance, TSA workers, and Coast Guard officials working without pay, and of course Americans standing in line at airports. Some of the places members of Congress went included a delegation trip to Scotland, and Senator Lindsey Graham, who was photographed at Disney World. I think basically what they felt was a political pressure for Congress not to have such a bad look of frolicking while others were working hard and doing so without pay, and while Americans were suffering with the long lines at airports.
The TMZ thing is fascinating, and I'm curious to see what kind of impact it's going to have on policymakers moving forward. John, when's this vote going to happen? What does the timeline look like here?
So the House and Senate are both out until April 13th, but they could, if they get unanimous consent from their members, come back in before then and pass the agreement from the House and Senate. So it's possible it could happen any time, but for the time being, they are scheduled to be in recess till April 13th. As far as the ICE and CBP pieces, the Democrats have been arguing for reforms, including agents wearing masks and wearing not wearing masks and wearing body cameras. And so that's the part Republicans need to do on their own. The president has said he wants to see reconciliation done by June 1st. That reconciliation bill that only needs Republican votes, will essentially become a catch-all for the rest of his legislative agenda for the year. It is not clear that Republicans will have the votes for all the things that the president and various members of Congress want to put in them. So putting a date on it is tough, but again, the president wants to see that by June 1st.
All right, John, good to have you with us. Thank you. Time now for a check on your forecast. Severe storms are threatening millions in the Midwest this morning. Angie Lastman's tracking it all for us. Angie, good morning.
Hey, Joe. Good morning to you. We've got another active day ahead of us, and we've even got some wintry weather that some folks are going to wake up and get out the door to. So let's start with exactly what we're seeing. We've got some of this snow across parts of the upper Midwest. Notice the freezing rain as well, and then a whole lot of rain and even some thunderstorms extending down from parts of the plains all the way down to the south, really Texas, Dallas, one of the locations that waking up to maybe some rumbles of thunder this morning. But notice the snow and the freezing rain that's kind of lifting north. We've got Duluth to Minneapolis, Green Bay, Grand Rapids, all included in that wintry weather. So 12 million people waking up to these winter alerts. We've got the potential to pick up some ice accumulations, and we've got the possibility of some scattered power outages because of that. So something to note through at least this morning and into the afternoon hours. Then we've got the chance to see some stronger storms get going as we head into the second half of our day. So notice most of this is centered across parts of the Midwest, but essentially we've got a slight risk for Detroit, Grand Rapids, Waterloo, Quincy, St. Louis, Champaign, Fort Wayne, but Chicago, Davenport, and Peoria, those are some spots that I would specifically watch into this afternoon to see the chance for a couple of these tornadoes and strong tornadoes at that developing, and the really strong wind gusts, 75 miles per hour and higher, and of course we can't rule out some hail. Then we turn our attention to kind of we've got a couple of storms. So the first storm is going to be the one that you just saw the impacts from today. And that's kind of where we're setting the stage for it to slide across parts of this region into the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast by tomorrow. It will bring us a couple of stronger storms again for tomorrow in the Ohio Valley. But then we turn our attention, keep up with me here, we've got our second of two storms that starts to develop in parts of the plains. And this is going to leave us with, again, severe storms from Iowa to Texas. You'll see that severe risk is quite expansive for tomorrow. Texas up through Oklahoma, Missouri, again, Iowa included in that. And that enhanced risk, places like Kansas City, you're going to be close to that. And we'll see a couple of strong tornadoes as well as the hail and wind gusts on the table. This will continue marching to the east for Saturday. So it's a wet day for Detroit, Cincinnati, stretching down Nashville. And then unfortunately, Joe, as we get into Sunday, Easter, we could be looking at some soggy conditions up and down the East Coast. So multiple storms that we're keeping track of and bringing severe weather with them wherever they go.
So umbrellas for the Easter bonnets.
Exactly.
All right, Angie, thank you so much.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.